What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the Combat Corporation, your source of combat sports. I'm your host, Al the Postmaster Tomorrow, and today I have a gear review on the Hit and Move Vision Face Saver headgear. Alright folks, as always, I'm incredibly excited to bring you yet another gear review, and I know what you're thinking. Al, you usually review gloves, and that's honestly all of my collection, basically. I'd say like 1% is anything other than gloves, but I always tend to review things that I use on a daily basis in my gym bag, and for the last several months, I have been using the Face Saver headgear, otherwise known as the Vision, and we'll talk about why it's called the Vision later, by Hit and Move. Now, you've probably seen Hit and Move featured on my channel a bunch, right? I started reviewing them when they came out almost, if not 5 years ago now, which is crazy to think about. I didn't look at the timestamps on some of my reviews by them. But to see what they've done in a small amount of time, from starting 5 years ago to being in world championship fights. I cannot remember the fella's name because I don't watch boxing as religiously as I do MMA nowadays. I could say Roach, but I feel like I'm wrong. Boxed a couple weeks ago, and he used Hit and Move gloves in a championship fight. World champions like Daniel Dubois, I saw Jarrell Big Baby Miller using them, Deontay Wilder, Gervonta Tank Davis. All these names are using Hit and Move gear. They were even featured in Creed 3, the movie, which is awesome. And a lot of coaches, like Patrice Boogie Harris, uses a lot of mitts by Hit and Move. I've personally changed out all of my mitts for Hit and Move, and Hit and Move has been really the only brand that's scored consistently like a 10 out of 10 with everything. And for me, I always say with their gloves, it's stuff like if I were to design it, that's what it would feel like on my hands. This headgear, though, for me, I'm happy I get to review stuff like this because it is a really cool piece of boxing equipment technology as far as like the innovative part goes. But it has caused some controversy, as did the last headgear, which I do have over here. I guess I'll take that down. The Air Precision headgear, which I reviewed a year ago. And both headgears have caused a lot of controversy in the world of boxing over the last year that I've noticed. And I'm glad I get to kind of do this review so I can kind of talk about why the controversy is there and why I think that this is great equipment that people should look into if they want, basically. It's all those things. I never say you have to look into it, but if you want. But Hit and Move, again, I've always loved their stuff because they always adhere to their actual model, and that is boxing deserves better. Now, I love that because when you sit and talk with Ozzy, the owner of Hit and Move, he basically tells you constantly that really boxing equipment is about 40 to 50 years behind compared to all the other sports that have advanced over the years. You think of like football helmets and shin guards from soccer and all these different things. Even MMA gloves have evolved more over the last 25, 30 years that it's been around than some boxing equipment has. They've been using the same thing. They even decided to make horsehair gloves more scientific and more protective than most other horsehair gloves out there, and still cost effective too, which is great. So when they made the Air Armor Precision headgear and now the Vision that they have, they're really trying to change it again for the better of the sport of boxing, and I think it's great for all combat sports. Of course, me as a professional mixed martial artist. I also appreciate Hit and Move because Ozzy and his wife, who started it because they were getting into combat sports really for just an alternative way to get in shape. Actually, Ozzy started to compete in amateur boxing. He won some great tournaments and some matches. He actually trains with pros to test his gear, some pretty solid, reputable pros too, and he gets to go and meet and see how they train. And especially for me in the world of MMA, I love seeing that. You see the awesome coach John Wood, who coaches guys like Marab. You also see Henry Cejudo use Hit and Move's gear, and even Henry Cejudo introduced headgear like this to Mike Tyson in his comeback against Jake Paul, and he even loved the headgear too. So I love that Ozzy puts himself in there as an athlete to test his gear out and actually competes and actively tries to get better at the sport to test the equipment, and then he gives it to other people as well. And on top of that, he's very smart when it comes to the anatomy of the human body. I want to say I'm saying this correctly. He did a lot with physical therapy and overall physiology of like the actual body, so he knows what works and what doesn't. So I always appreciate that about Hit and Move. But again, when it comes to this headgear, a lot of people are kind of getting into the whole controversy, which we'll talk about as we go down the line. I kind of want to do a whole section of this of what the controversy is in my mind, and then kind of put your mind at ease about it and at least tell you about it. But for now, I want to kind of go into the headgear itself and talk about the exact model I have. First and foremost, I got them in the yellow colorway, and of course they only come with one closure, but they do have two sizes. They have a small, which I believe is 22 inches and below, and then there's 22 inches and above for the LSS XL, which I have here. So I have the LSS XL size, as you can see, and I got them in the yellow colorway. Again, the only type of closure you're going to get is the buckle here and the laces on top and on the back. There's a ton of different colors you can pick. There's solid black, white, silver, red, purple, gold. I believe I saw a gold color. I might be wrong there, but I'll put all the pictures across the screen as I always do, so you can see what color options you have. One thing about Hit and Move is that they all look really stylish at the end of the day, including this one here. So going into the actual look of the headgear itself, as you can see, again, I got that really nice neon green yellow color here, and it says yellow on there. For me, it gives you that awesome like sports future car look, and I really like how that shines off the light, and it looks just really modern is the way I would word that. But when we come here, as you can see here in the middle, it says Hit and Move, and it says Face Saver, or does it say the Vision on it? Oh, Air Armor, sorry, my fault. My eyes are not good even looking into the monitor here. But it says Air Armor, just like the other headgear, because obviously it uses the same Air Armor technology. And then you can see you got more of those turtle patches here, that micro padding that they talk about. So that's adding to the look of the glove as well. So you got some squares and rectangles, whatever shapes you like to call. At the top of the headgear, you can see we have all black leather lacing throughout here, and you have the leather holders for the lacing, which is nice. And then when we go over to the side, the ears are black, and that complements the yellow really well, actually. The black and yellow works. It's like the song. But as you can see, this is all black here. We go to the back. You can see the laces are all black. And then, of course, on the other side, it's still black, but it has the yellow logo in the center of the ear cup, which is nice. Also, one thing that I love Hit and Move does with everything, their logo is all the way throughout the inside of the actual headgear itself, as you can see. So it's that white logo, and the actual interior is all black. So again, it complements with color really well. When we talk about the build of the glove, sorry, I'm so used to saying glove. When we talk about the build of the headgear, the outer shell is made out of a very nice quality full grain leather, which is absolutely awesome. You can actually see all the grain marks going throughout the entirety of the headgear itself. So the leather is definitely great. Now, I cannot remember if they are using Italian or Turkish leather now, because I know they changed that back and forth a few times, but I do know it is some of the highest quality leather that you can get out there, and it feels very comparable to some other brands out there, and it feels just as good. The leather itself is smooth and supple compared to some other brands. Some brands are a little bit more rough and rugged. This is a very smooth and supple leather, and even though it's had my sweaty head in it constantly, I've really only had to clean it once, and I've only ever used the leather cleaners that I use just to see if it reacts well, which of course it does. Good quality leather almost always will, but it smells brand new still, just like a brand new quality shoe, new wallet, coat, whatever you want to call it, but it smells really nice. I actually love the smell of leather. It's one of my favorite things on the planet. But that's what you got going on here for the outer shell. And then, of course, we go into the padding system of the Air Armor slash Vision that we have here. So as you can see here, both headgears have that Air Armor micro padding system. And again, I'll talk about the controversy itself going in, but the idea is we have strategically placed impact stopping, not absorbing, impact dispersing, right? And stopping padding that goes throughout the headgear itself. I almost said the glove again. But in the middle, as you can see, we have that one circle, and then you have a couple other blocks going throughout here of that micro padding. So obviously you have solid padding that's underneath that, right, throughout the entirety of the headgear. Like over here, it's just that basic padding that you're going to get, which is usually a type of open cell foam, so it's nice and soft for your head. And it's the same thing throughout the bar itself. It's that nice open cell foam. But when we come here, as you can see, this feels a little bit more firm, almost gelish, I would say, but at the same time, I feel like it's more of a rigid foam. The idea is if you nail in the center of the head, it wants to stop the impact from going everywhere else. And if you've worn headgear, you know exactly what I'm talking about. If you get hit up here, sometimes you'll feel it way down here. If you hit here, you'll feel it there. If you get hit on the side of the head, for whatever reason, you're feeling it over here. The whole unit is attached to your head. So the idea is you want to stop the impact. If it hits here, it only goes there. It doesn't go everywhere else, right? It's protecting your head a lot more. What it does is that padding disperses the impact well, it disperses the shock from the impact, I should say. So say we hit the middle part here, right? It hits here, right? And it doesn't get stopped here per se. It might go to here, and notice what it does is it disperses it out. What I think of, and this is a really weird caveat that I very rarely get to throw in, but I guess it's useful once in a blue moon. I went to school for music audio technology, so I had to study sound waves a lot, vibrations, right? Every time you get hit or you hit something, that's why you see like foams, they're corrugated and they have like triangular shapes all over the place. When you get hit, you basically want the sound waves to hit it and disperse immediately and stop. You don't want it to go through or go anywhere else. So you kind of have that with impact here. You basically stop the inertia of getting hit because it's going throughout these pieces and it disperses all that shock throughout the headgear to stop it from getting everywhere else is basically the idea. So that's my very not so scientific answer, if that makes sense. And you have that padding here on the back as well. So that also protects the back of your head a little bit more, stops the shock from getting to the back of your head. Because trust me, for whatever reason, just from years of boxing, doing MMA, I'll get hit in the forehead, somehow the back of my head will feel like it's getting tightened. I don't know why. Not only that, but you also have some of that padding here by the jaw, right there, right here. And that padding also goes into the other side, and you have a very thick piece by the chin strap itself. And the chin strap itself is actually a little bit padded too, which is nice. So overall, you got great padding. The ear cups are really nice because you have that cross guard. And really what that does is it doesn't necessarily stop the impact from nailing your ear. It's to stop it from cupping your eardrum. Because if you get hit right on the ear, go watch my last fight. Unfortunately, first time I ever got taken off my feet in 16 years of doing combat sports. My ear got clapped and it felt like my body completely stopped. My legs went, my equilibrium was gone, but I was still awake and knowing what's happening. So while you're sparring, that happens sometimes. I've accidentally hit sparring partners on the ears, not very hard, and their balance just goes. So really what that does, that crossbar here along with that cupping, stops that cupping sound and like really banging your eardrum up, because then again, your equilibrium's all gone and you don't need that during sparring. So the ear cup's actually really thick here, really thick padding. It's still pretty soft, but firm enough. Oh, sorry, I just realized it wasn't focusing. But it's still pretty soft, but firm enough to stop the impact from really damaging your ears. And trust me, you get hit in the ears enough, that's actually where boxers get their cauliflower ear from, not from tying up all the time. The other thing too is at the top, you can see that we have the nice lace track system and the leather pieces that keep it in place. I always tape the top of my headgear because I hate resetting it and I hate having someone reset it on my head all the time. So I always tape it. This is black compared to the white tape that I used here. Just so I could stick with uniformity. But they're very easy laces to work with. They're easy to pull and take apart. And then it's the same thing on the back. Very easy. The lace tracks, I noticed I tied it here. So the lace tracks, I'll untie it here real quick. Maybe. Trying to reveal. Oh, that's why I like laced it through. So it wouldn't move. This is what I mean. I didn't tape it. That's why I like laced it all the way through. That's funny. Please hold. I might skip through that part. I usually don't do. There we go. Okay. Anyway, although I didn't show it that great just there, that's because I laced it through when I used it last. But the eyelids are very, very smooth. They pop out easily and it opens up very easily on your head as well, and it feels really nice. And it doesn't squeeze the back of your head too tight at all. I hate wearing tight headgear. I like it when it just cinches better on my head, and in this case, this feels much better. Then on top of it, when we go to the actual inner part, you can see we got more of that. Usually you would have some headgears that have a lining to it. This is just solid leather, which I find more headgears are doing nowadays, which I prefer because most of the headgear I use as an amateur, I think back to like my ringside or title headgear, sometimes the Everlast headgear that they'd make you use in tournaments and stuff, really had that, or the old Adidas ones had a type of lining to it, which wasn't very comfortable and it was really rigid. And if anything, you'd think it would make it stick to your head more, but no, if it got sweaty, it was like wet grass on your head. It just would slip and slide everywhere. But in this case, it's a very nice interior lining, I guess you could say, but it's just a solid leather. Now, as you can see here, I'm going to put the headgear on. So it fits really easily. I got the top part tighter than I do the other side, so let me just put that on. And my ears are huge, so they get in the way. But this is pretty solid, even without tying the back so much. And as you can see here, we got a plastic buckle. Some people prefer the metal buckle, but I don't, because I've actually seen that pop gloves open before. So when we do that, it's pretty simple to just, if I can see it, which I can. I'm just bad with coordination, stuff like this. There we go. Plus showing it off. I'm usually just putting it on. I'm trying to do everything for the channel. But it fits really easily, and this is why it's called the Vision, okay? So if we take my hands here, and in fact, we'll do this. I'll take this off. Peripheral vision, and it has a whole chart that they use. I'll put it across the screen so you can see it. So you can look across this way. Your field of vision is the same as your natural field of vision is what it says. Like 105 degrees of peripheral vision is the same of just our eyes alone compared to this. I love to think that I have great peripheral vision because I think it came from music, honestly, because you have to look at your sheet music and then the conductor at the same time. Plus getting punches thrown at you for a while, you tend to see things. And my eyes are stigmatism, meaning that they're circular or more circular or oval shaped. So I kind of look out a bit more than I do forward, funny enough. But if I do this with my hands here, right in front, right? Not even looking at the monitor. I'm just going here, and I'll tell you when I stop seeing them. About now. Okay, I can't see them so much right now, but I can see a little bit, especially if I pop that thumb out, I see that. Okay, if I bring them out here, good. But I'd have to look that way, right, with my neck, or my eyes are actually moving to go see them. Okay, same thing for above vision. If I'm here, right, I can't see it so much right now. I can see like my wrist. I can't really see this. I pop my thumb down, can't see that. I come here, I can see it now. Okay, or I'd have to look up with my eyes. I go below, about, let me get the headgear out of the way. I go below, okay, I can't see them so much. So this would be a shot I didn't see coming. In fact, right under your chin, you can't really see all that great. I can see my pinky right here, but besides that, I can't really see my whole hand. So that's a fist, right? So here's the idea. And maybe I can do a side-by-side comparison, but it's crazy when I do the actual peripheral vision test. There we go. My ear got caught. It always does with every headgear I use ever since I was a kid. Buckle that tight. Let's do this test again. The idea is the above vision, below vision, and peripheral vision side to side is just as good as my regular peripheral. So if we go here, okay, dead in the middle, and I go about right here, I can still see them a little bit, not much, but if I look my eyes, it's the same as before. If I bring it a little bit farther back, I have to turn because obviously this part of the headgear is in my way, right? For me, because I think I got pretty good peripherals, but maybe everyone's the same, and I'm not special. I ever stop to think about that? Of course not. But if I'm here, I can't really see them as much unless I look out the corners of my eyes. I got to bring them about here or here, I'd say, is where I can comfortably see them before I have to turn my head. Same thing above here. It's the same as before. If I bring it down a little lower, I can see it just fine. Bring it up a bit, this bar is not really in my way. I can't actually see the top part of the bar. The only part of the headgear I really openly see is the sides when I look to the sides, or the face bar, of course, because that's going to stop, you know, punches from coming, and this is kind of out a bit to stop that. But when I'm here, yeah, it's the same thing. If I bring it down, unless I bring it right in, now I can't see it. I see it a little bit, but I see the bar more. So the vision compared to some other headgear, and they were kind, obviously for legal reasons, they couldn't actually name the brands, but you can obviously guess who they were. But, you know, just out of respect for Hit and Move and the other brands involved, they mentioned British, Mexican, and Japanese style headgear, and how they were like 56% vision compared to like 95 in this. And I forget the exact numbers, but I'll put the chart across the screen and you can go on their website and look at it. It's actually amazing, the scientific test that they put into the headgear itself. And it's true because I can see pretty much just as good as I can without it on, which is kind of crazy. The other part is the face bar here. Also, you would think because it's so light and so small compared to some other headgears, it would go right through because my fist is going through. Obviously, MMA sparring, I've been touched to the nose wearing this headgear. That's with every full face MMA headgear or headgear period I've worn. But it does stop things like shin guards or big boxing gloves from coming through. I have been hit maybe once or twice with big boxing gloves in these, but it wasn't anything like I felt my whole face get flattened. It was like the tip of my nose, but I got a really fat nose. You know, most of my family does. We're Italian, I guess, is the way I would word that. Hope that doesn't offend people, but I'm Italian too. So if I'm not offended, don't get offended. But again, if I'm here, right, obviously my fist here is going to come through, but a big bulky glove, you know, here, not so much. Right, if I take, this one's right here. So if I take this Rival one, boom. It's not really touching my nose. I can feel it a little bit on the very tip of my nose, but like blasting it like that, no. It's not like I feel anything on it. And the impact absorption compared to most headgear that I use, honestly, is right there. And that's the part that I really appreciate about this headgear. And that's where I'm going to go into the controversy. I'll try and keep it as short as I can. So the controversy that I noticed that both this headgear and this headgear has had over the last year is you have a lot of boxing purists, I'd say, or old school guys. In fact, the guy, and I hope he doesn't get offended that I'm calling him out like this. I'm not doing it in a negative way, but I love this guy on Instagram, Anthony Black Magic Sims, the jab master himself. He's very much a believer of the old school, trained under Emmanuel Stewart and all those things. I understand because my coach is very much an old school coach too, boxed in the late 60s, early 70s, with a lot of old names and stuff. And when I showed him this headgear, he didn't understand it either, because in their mind it would be something like, well, if there's less padding, how does that mean more protection? Well, that's the thing about Ozzy that I will defend him, because Hit and Move has been great to work with, and I do believe that they are trying to make boxing better, and I think they've done that in a short amount of time. And I think the amount of people that are switching to Hit and Move now is showing that as well. Think about it this way. If you have a pound of something, let's just say equal amount, okay? Let's say we have a pound of horsehair in a boxing glove. So 16 ounces of horsehair in a boxing glove, or 16 ounces of high density orthopedic foams. Which would you rather get hit with? Okay, so it's one of those things that, you know, the horsehair doesn't have that much. It has more give to it. It's going to cave through, right, for the knuckles. So think about this. What if you had 16 ounces of horsehair or 10 ounces of that orthopedic foam placed into good spots of the hands? I would still pick the 10 ounces to protect my hands, because the foam was designed to stop my hand from getting injured. It's the same thing that you have with this headgear. And here's the thing Hit and Move's not doing, and I feel like people are saying that they're doing this. Hit and Move doesn't go out and say, we're the best brand out here, we are better than everybody. No. In fact, in the studies that they found through Virginia Tech, is that it was, excuse me, wrong pipe, is that the findings were comparable to other brands, if not better. Comparable findings, if not better. So it's basically saying that it's right there. And that's the thing, guys, is I've used major brands like Rival. Rival's actually my favorite headgear before I started using Hit and Moves. I've used Reyes. I always, throughout my amateur boxing career, it was always Ringside or Title or Everlast that you would compete in. So you'd always use a headgear that you compete in. And I use that constantly. And for me, when I get hit in this headgear, I do feel a significant reduction in impact compared to some other ones. I'd say it's about the same as the professional Rival headgear that I used for over 6 years before I got this headgear that I showed in my last breakdown. The only big part is that it's kind of up to you, I guess is the way I'd word that. If you want a lighter headgear, for me, this mindset makes more sense to me, because I've been using big bulky headgear for so long. So having something lighter on my head so I'm able to move my head side to side or twist it this way, duck, whichever way I got to go, and not have so much weight on it is great. And you also got to think, you get hit with a lot of weight on your head snaps back more, goes side to side. And the old school mindset was, well, it's so big and bulky, you better move your head off that center line or you're going to get hit. And then there's some coaches out there that say no matter what you have on your head, you'll perfectly slip a punch, and yet still, because it's a little bit fatter, it's going to get nailed on the outside, right? My own MMA coach that I train with now says he doesn't always like headgear for light MMA sparring, because he feels like you're going to get hit more because the headgear is just bulky on your head. And he said he didn't like, because it gave you that same idea. Now, of course, I disagree with that. But for me, as a pro MMA fighter, I think this is the best headgear you can get, as well as this, because you're able to wear a light headgear that you can wrestle in as well. That's the other thing I've really enjoyed about this. As a pro MMA guy, I can wrestle in full face headgear, and I use this exclusively throughout my last fight camp. Again, the fight camp didn't go my way, but at the end of the day, I really enjoyed this. And the other thing I'll notice about other people that usually bash Hit and Move as a brand, or their new technology that they think is worthless because there's less padding, so therefore it's going to hurt you more. It's less padding that's scientifically placed to increase impact absorption, or disbursement, I would say. So look into the science, actually look into it, and guess what? Hit and Move has great customer service, and they will explain it to you. If not, Ozzy himself, I'm sure, would explain it to you, so he can kind of tell you how it works. But he doesn't say that the other headgears are horrible. He just says, mine is comparable. The science says you can see better out of this, meaning better defense for you to move out of the way. That's just the way I would say it. And again, I didn't finish my last thought. Most of the people that I see that are kind of bashing this headgear and saying that it's a scam, also have deals with different brands out there, which is why I never take gear sponsorships for the channel, because then I would be dishonest. I'm telling you to look at it from an open mind. For me, impact absorption wise, it's very similar to the rival headgear that I used, if not just a touch better. Is it going to... Getting hit doesn't feel good, guys. That's all I'm going to leave that at. I'll leave it that. Getting hit doesn't feel good. I like that I'm able to move my head more in this because I'm a very active guy with my head movement, and I use it all the time. But with that said, I got the controversy out of the way, and I got everything else out of the way. It's like, what, 24 minutes? Wow, okay. This is why I put timestamps, long review. Go ahead and look into what's coming up next, and that is I have some sparring footage of me using this and then an actual live demonstration. And yes, I get hit for your enjoyment, and so you know if this is going to be good for you. So with that said, guys, I'll see you with my final thoughts. So as you can see here, I'm sparring with my teammate Kenny. Fun fact, actually, Kenny's fighting for his 3rd lightweight championship as an amateur this weekend, and we're hoping that he's going to go 3-0 in title performances. But as you can see here, we're testing out the head movement in this and the availability, not only when it comes to boxing, but MMA sparring. As you can see here, shooting for a double leg takedown, my head's able to be in a good position without having too much in the way of it. Of course, we're sparring very slow and more rehearsed than anything, so you can get a good idea of it. I'm hitting a duck under here. It's not impeding in the way I'd get underneath the arm, and it's not impeding the way I'd finish a takedown either. I'm floating pretty easily with the headgear on as well, keeping my head nice and tight, going for a single leg. But of course, now we go back to striking, and as you can see, I'm able to keep my hands up fine. I'm moving my head side to side. I'm able to see things coming from all angles. Even that body shot, I was able to kind of get away from at the last second because I'm able to see everything with this headgear. Really good slip there. I'm able to slip very easily with these gloves. Obviously, again, we're going very slow. Sparring with Kenny is never that easy, trust me. As you can see here, he got a front headlock to a roll through, and I'm telling him now to finish the choke, so you can see you can actually grapple well in this headgear too.
So we just did the mock sparring, so you can see it like moving in action, and you notice it's not wiggling on my head. Kenny pulled down on it a couple of times like this, and it's not like blocking my field of vision at all. Even though it's like here, I can still see really well, which is great. So that's always a really good positive image. Every time he hit me on the side of my ear, it felt like I was getting really nice plus protection, and it's very firm over here where the turtle parts are. And on top of it, as you can see, I got my mouth guard in. I'm going to be biting down hard. Kenny's going to be hitting me with upwards probably like 70% on each side. And as you can see, since I'm a pro MMA fighter, we got a 16-ounce Shibari hit and move glove too, so their own brand horsehair glove, so it's not a forgiving glove all the time. And we also have the Hayabusa T3 MMA hybrid gloves here. And he's going to hit me probably a little less hard than the boxing glove, but still. We're also going to test a knee to the side of the head, and we're going to test a head kick to the side of the head. So we're going to start small. We're going to go with the jab to the forehead. I'm going to brace just like it were a fight. Okay, my hands will be down, but my neck will be tucked, and chin is biting down, okay? Go ahead. Yep. Okay. So as you can see, headgear moves down a little bit, but honestly, I think it's because I need to tie it a little bit more. When you put it on and then you sweat a bit, it's naturally going to move around, okay? So that was what, like 25?
Yeah, like 30.
30? Okay, go 50. Yep. Okay. So, yeah, and as you can see here, I still felt it on my eye a little bit. The glove snuck through just barely, but not nearly enough to where I feel the full force. So I have a fight coming up in 3 weeks, and doing this test may not be smart to some, but in this case, I don't feel threatened at all, right? My nose feels the brunt of it, so I'm smart. I feel educated in my defense. So if he goes a little bit harder, go ahead. Yep, yep. Give me one full one. Good, okay, so now light hooks to the side of the head, here. Yep, right around the ear. Good, again, again. My chin's up, so we'll go down, go. My head's not moving, right? No. Go ahead, good, okay. A little harder. Good, okay. So now we go to the right glove here. So we'll go to like the tip of the temple here. Yep, again. One more. Good, okay. Now if we go say an uppercut, obviously our chin's exposed, so that's still there, but it's still catching, there's still padding down by the jaw. So if he does like say a rear hook to the jaw, good, so it's still padded. Now don't get me wrong, it's never gonna feel good to get hit. Like this isn't enjoyable, right? But you're getting an idea of how padded this feels. It's really it took me a lot of shock. If I were competing, I maybe will want a little thicker. In some cases, but I like that I'm able to move my head, and we'll do that in a second too. But now we're gonna go somewhat uncharted territory for this headgear, maybe, is knees. So he's gonna get a full tie clinch, right? And he's gonna knee the tip of my head, okay? Go ahead, a little harder. Yep. One more. Good, go the opposite knee. 1, 2, a little harder. Boom, perfect, okay? So part of that, like, again, will cut your nose barely. I barely feel it touch the tip of my nose, barely under my eyes, which is great. Then the head kick, go ahead. Just lightly with these, because these are hard to pull. Go ahead. Yep, okay. One more on this side. Yep. Up here, boom, okay? So it does block very well. The other part is slipping. So if he just continually like throw jabs, right, and I'm here, can go a little faster, it feels like it's stuck to my head, which is great. Okay, now if we go, you're good. I should have told you to stop. Now if we go like, I can't weave quite as fast, so if he goes here, right, weave under a little faster, and I'm here. I got pretty good head movement, right? And it doesn't move around. Again, Kenny tries to slide this down, and we're wrestling too. So if it goes for like a snap down, right, it doesn't move, okay? He's doing proper technique back at the crown of the head and everything. But if he does the top of my head, right here from the headgear, go ahead. It's still not pulling down, okay? I've got perfect field of vision. So when it comes to the face saver by hit and move, for me as an MMA fighter, I would look into this. I think if you're boxing, some people, just because they're, they're stuck a little bit in like the older ways, they want big, thick headgear. That's up to you. For me as a pro MMA fighter, I want thinner because it feels like wrestling headgear with a little added impact absorption. So I love this, and that's why I've been using it my whole fight camp the last 2 months.
All right, folks, I know the beginning of that was really long, but I always say this: I want you to be over-informed compared to under-informed, and I always try and nail it from my perspective as a professional mixed martial artist, from the brand's perspective, and from the perspective of the subscribers that have asked me tons of questions about this headgear in particular. I always try and arm you with all the knowledge I can so you know if this is going to be a good purchase for you. I already have it. I don't need to convince you to buy it or not buy it. My whole job is to tell you everything about it so you can make that decision for yourself. So again, I always give you timestamps so you can look throughout it. But when it comes to my final verdict of the Vision headgear by Hit and Move, it's similar to everything I've tried to hit and move. And just like I said last year when it came to the Air Armor Precision headgear, is I wish I had this around when I was still boxing as an amateur, because I was in headgear virtually every other day. And you know what? The headgear that I used way back when, again, you used the USA Boxing stuff that was approved by USA Boxing. It was usually ringside headgear, title headgear, Everlast headgear, or Adidas headgear is what I would use to compete in. And really, I didn't change to using an actual designated headgear until I was in my mid-teens, and I used Rival for the most part. I had a piece of Rival headgear for about 6.5 years that I used before I got the Hit and Move headgear, because it just fit good on my head. It was lighter than most headgears out there, and I felt it did a better job with impact absorption. I've used Rhea's full face headgear before. A couple of my teammates switched to that before. I've never tried winning headgear on. I know that's really well renowned. I tried the fighting sports headgear, which is supposed to be very close to winning, but it's a title product, so for me, it was probably not going to be anywhere near winning, of course. And I've tried like Fight to Finish headgear, a full face, which was pretty good, and Boxia full face, which I thought was pretty good. It was very thick though. But for me, I like lighter headgear. I like it to feel more like wrestling headgear, because with wrestling headgear, it just felt like I had stuff over my ears, like earmuffs. I have the same thing, only it just feels like it goes over my whole head. I like to move, it's just my style, I think, because I like to move side to side or dip very low. I'm constantly moving in that motion. So when I have that extra weight, I did feel like I had to overemphasize it to move side to side, and that can be very frustrating, whereas this is very light on my head and it feels good. On top of it, this is the first headgear that's full face anyway, where I felt really comfortable to grapple in. So it's great for wrestling, and I absolutely love that. They go for about $259, $260, about that is what I would say. So it is a little expensive, but again, Hit and Move is a professional brand, and compared to other brands out there, that's right on par. Pretty sure you can talk about winning headgear is probably much more expensive than that. It's probably $250 to $300 if I were to guess. Same thing for Reyes. I think their headgear goes for at least $220. So you're in that price range, and some rival headgear will go for upwards of $200. So it is a professional brand, and it's made with professional quality. So you got gotta look into that as well. Then we would go into the things I like about it, which I was talking about a little bit. Obviously, I mentioned that it's light on the head. So I like that it's lighter on the head, and I'm able to move my head just as fast as I see something I want to move. I don't have to overcompensate and go way far off to the edge like I would with heavier headgear. Although the more you use heavier headgear, the more natural it's going to become. I understand that. But in this case, it's just nicer to move. It's not nearly as bulky as well. So when you do move and you slip a punch, you're not going to get nailed at the end of your headgear, because it's one with your head. You get nailed at the end of your headgear a little bit, your whole head's going to feel it, right? That's one thing. That it still doesn't change that. But it does make it easier for you to move and to avoid getting hit. Like the brand suggests, hit and move, okay? So I am able to do that very easily. And again, as an MMA fighter, I'm able to do everything in this. Wrestle, grapple. You can feel things like knees go through sometimes, not as much. Shin guards don't go through. We did test it with a bare shin, and I was able to kind of notice that the bare shin barely snuck through and like tickled the tip of my nose. MMA gloves goes through the face hole a little bit, but as far as like boxing gloves, I feel it hit the tip of my nose. I think that's more of an anatomical thing. I just got a fat nose, but I don't feel it near as much as I do some other face savers. And trust me, some face savers try to avoid it so much that the face bar is like way out here. And yes, I am familiar with what most people will call the face bar. They'll call it the bitch bar. I've been around. I know. Call me a bitch bar guy all you want. But you know what? I prefer the full face, especially if I'm a couple weeks out from a fight. For this whole fight camp, which was 2.5 months, I used this exclusively. And I'll go, again, the fight didn't go my way. I did like that. This is the first fight I ever went into without a black eye, without a mark on my face, period, which is awesome. That almost always happens. I like that it's very easy to clean because it's all one uniform material with the leather, and the leather's super high quality, so it's very easy to maintain and clean, and it's awesome, and it still smells great, and it still feels good, and on top of it, it fits snug on your head, right? For me, I need it to fit pretty snug, so one thing that I will wear kind of tight on my head so it doesn't shift all over the place, and that's another thing I like about it. I've never really been hit with this and had the headgear go way over here. Sometimes it'll creep down a bit, but I can still see very well. And again, of course, as the name suggests, the vision in this face saver headgear leaps and bounds above any other face saver headgear that I've ever used, because usually when you have a face saver on, it kind of looks like you're in a medieval knight in armor helm, right? And you see like this basically in a box, and that's that triangle vision that it says there. I don't know if I mentioned the triangle vision to begin with, but it's that basically top, bottom, and side to side movement that I talked about earlier, and you can see very, very well out of this headgear compared to everything else. I can see pretty much as good as I can out of this, and this is a open face headgear. So that's absolutely awesome. In fact, for me, it basically feels like you have this headgear with a face bar, which is, I love that. I think it's great. Some drawbacks to it. I mean, again, like I mentioned earlier, if you're in that old school mentality of there's less padding, therefore it doesn't protect you as much, it's, for me, just as good as most headgear that I've used, if not better than almost every headgear I've used. It's in that area. Just because it has less padding doesn't mean that it's not strategically placed to stop impact, right, is the idea. So it feels virtually the same to like the rival headgear I use, but it actually, I'm even going to give it more credit. It feels better than that because it's not so heavy, so I don't have the weight snapping my head back either. But if you're in that mindset, obviously, it's not for you. Don't get it. Get something else, right? Get a bigger fat head guard, and that's your choice. It's not up to anyone else but you. Again, why I make these videos, so you can make the call. Do you want to try it or not? Then on top of it, the only other thing maybe I change, and I just think it's me, because every piece of headgear I've ever worn does this, is it just does kind of get tight in the temples sometimes. And again, I think that's just my head, because I have a fat head, and I have that like overpronounced brow, like a what were they called? Neanderthals or something. But like when you're here, I kind of have a bit of that overpronounced brow. So I do often feel pressure like here, and sometimes when I'm sparring, I'll show you. When I'm sparring, especially with MMA gloves on, I'll literally take my fingers and I'll just like do this just to like relieve that pressure for a second, and then it feels good. But again, it's nice because I do this. It's not going to slide everywhere, go up and down. It stays pretty tight to your head, which is great. But that's really the only thing maybe I think I'd change. But other than that, I've absolutely loved using it, and it doesn't shift around. Some people may not like the plastic buckle, but you know, I think it's better than a metal buckle. Middle buckle's always digging into my chin, and on top of it, I've seen guys pop their gloves open with that because, you know, they don't actually strap it. They just loop it through and like tape it, and that's not going to do anything. So, but that's what I would say. Very easy to adjust. Everything's very good of the glove. Oh, headgear. Sorry, I'm so used to saying glove. So with that said, guys, what would my verdict on this be? And again, it's just my personal preference, so I'm going to give it 2 different ratings. For me personally, because of everything that it checks off every box for me, I give it a 10 out of 10. Excellent, tier glove. S tier is the letter that I use. It is for sure the best face saver headgear I've used. It's not done anything wrong to really mess with me at all compared to what most people would think. The only thing I could say as far as like a drawback is that it's $260. So if you are investing in that, make sure it's something you want to invest into. Of course, Hit and Move's customer service is great. So if you find it's not up to your standard, then of course reach out to them and they will help you out. Trust me, they're the best when it comes to that stuff, which is great. You gotta love a professional level brand that does that for their customers, as every brand should. So I love that. And on top of it, if I were to give it another rating for the old school heads, obviously they're going to give it a -12, but I would say it's still a good 8 or 9 out of 10, and I still put in that excellent tier. And the reason why is because it's doing everything. And until you try it, don't knock it, because if you get hit with this, you're going to realize, oh, it actually does absorb the shock just about as much as everything else I've used, if not a little bit more, because that's basically what it says. And that's what I say too. And I've used headgear a ton. I've used tons of different headgear, primarily from the major brands that you can think of as far as like as an amateur boxer goes. But for me, I absolutely love the headgear. It's been nothing but good to me, and it really served me well, especially throughout this last camp. Wish I had it on in my fight. It probably wouldn't have clapped my eardrum so much, but that's, hey, we learn in the sport. It happens. But I've absolutely loved using it. I think Hit and Move is going to continue to make advancements when it comes to combat sports. The one thing that I wish they would do, but I understand they're boxing and boxing only, I wish they got into MMA gloves and they could solve the MMA glove problem. Although, if you watch my last video or 3 videos ago, the gloves aren't the problem with eye pokes, folks, but that's a different thing. So, guys, thank you so much for watching this review. I hope it was informative. This is definitely one of the longer, if not the longest review, because I really wanted to talk about the controversy when it comes to headgear like this and technology like this. Some people will just hate on things. They hate on them because, whether they're affiliations with another brand or they want to stick to the old school. I still say it's time to embrace some new technology, and I think Hit and Move has made strong waves in the short 5 years that they've been around. And I think everything that they're doing proves that, and I really take my hat off to them. In fact, I take it off to them now. I think they're going to continue to do a great job. This review was long overdue, as I've had this headgear for a while. I've had it for a little over half a year now, and I'm happy I finally got to sit in front of the camera and give you guys this review. Of course, watch my other fellow reviewers, C Squared and Simon from Fit to Box. They do a great job, and I think they're pretty much on the same wavelength as me with this headgear. If you're going to like it, trust me, you got to try it. If you're not, then you're just not, and that's with every piece of equipment you're going to get. But with that said, guys, thank you so much for watching this review. As always, comment below what you want to see next, and if I missed anything, ask me some questions in the comment section, or follow me on my social media pages and send me messages on there. I do my best to get back to you as fast as I can. Like and subscribe and share this with your friends, and hit that notification bell so not only them, but you get notified when another review like this comes out. As always, I really appreciate you watching this review, guys. Thank you for choosing your source of combat sports, the Combat Corporation. I've been your host, Al the Postmaster Morrow, and as always, I'll see you on the next episode. Have a great day, everybody.